company, duct cleaning company here in La Habra, California. So within the 24 hours, there has been a few articles that have been written about different air quality things. And so I have a network of friends that I called this meeting. It's an emergency meeting. So we're going to go around and introduce ourselves. We'll start with Shayna.
My name is Shayna Shadowin. I am one of the owners of Service Detectives. We are 52 years in the electrical industry and 4 years in the heating and cooling industry.
Misty.
Hi, I'm Misty Yates of Yates Maintenance Heating and Air in Little Rock, Arkansas. We've been in business 10 years.
Irum.
I am Irum Jones. I'm one of the owners of Electrician on Call. We also do HVAC as well as air quality here in the Dallas, Texas area for the last 20 years.
And our friend from Fix Air, Wendy.
Hi, I'm Wendy McCalis, and I work in air quality with Fix Air, and we've been doing air quality environmental inspections and investigations working with doctors and other service-based companies for the last 7 years.
Thank you all for joining me tonight. I just wanted to bring to our attention, there's a few things that these articles were saying, and two of the biggest points were don't run your AC and don't change your filter. So I wanted to ask Wendy, our first question, what would happen if we do not run our AC?
Well, according to the article, it says that we would recommend opening windows and turning off HVAC systems. In some areas, this may be an appropriate response. I mean, if it's beautiful outside, it's always really, really great to get some ventilation in, fresh air into your house and air it out, and really, just open the windows and let the breeze come through. However, in certain areas, this may or may not be a really, really good option because turning off your HVAC system for a long period of time leaves a lot of humidity in the air, especially if you're not able to open up your windows and ventilate. If you are going to be turning off your HVAC system, I would recommend that you leave the blower fan on for at least 10 to 15 minutes to kind of help dry out some of that humidity. Because humidity can be a very, very big factor in the growth and proliferation of mold and other allergens throughout your space, especially when it comes to stale air and stuff like that. Yeah, it just continues to grow.
And so what would you recommend if a person is having issues that they're having mold in their HVAC system? What do you think that would be a good thing for mold in your HVAC system? What happens? What do we do?
Well, first of all, I appreciate the question. But first of all, certain states have different requirements for the assessment of mold. And in Texas, where I'm at, we have to have a license to do that. And because there is huge environmental impacts on your health, toxicity factors and contamination of mold in your HVAC system can produce a lot of different types of health-related effects and symptoms that go beyond just the typical allergenic type effects. So when you're dealing with mold growth or visible growth in your HVAC system, it's best to call in someone that has the ability and the licensing to be able to test what type of fungal it is, because you don't want to just go in and clean out your ducts if there is some type of growth in your system that you're aware of. And HVAC companies need to be aware too that they should not be agitating any type of growth that may be in the system, because it can proliferate very, very quickly throughout the house and contaminate the home and the contents of the home.
And then I wanted to bring up another point with that. you know, the article was talking about not changing filters. What do you think about, what would you respond to that?
Well, there's different factors that come into play when you're looking at changing your filters, and you really need to take a look at what type of HVAC system you have, what type of filtration you have, what is it rated for, how often is it recommended to be changed, and change it on those intervals or before is fine as well. You know, different factors that do affect the expiration of those filters basically would be your lifestyle. To be, you know, how many kids do you have? How many pets do you have? What is, you know, the traffic like coming in and out of your home? What is the, you know, environment like overall? And then also what type of filtration can your system handle? You don't want to be putting in a filter that is rated for more than what your system can handle, because it would put too much stress on your system. So I would definitely recommend changing those filters on a regular routine basis, and just staying on top of that, and making sure you have the best filter that your system can handle.
I totally agree. We're gonna go around, let's see, Misty, do you offer your customers maintenance plans, and how important do you think having a maintenance plan is to a homeowner?
Yeah, so I think it's extremely important that when we sell a new system, we sell it with a service plan, so that first we know that just the maintenance helps. It increases efficiency. We are checking those UV light filters as well, so they already have UV light. We are asking, you know, to see that and to check that to make sure. We look at, you know, just why it's important to just make sure you're seeking out just a reputable company that would let you know if there was something. So if you have equipment still under warranty, we'd experience that this week, we would be able to tell you that, so that you were finding that you could replace that under warranty. You know, having indoor air quality, as you mentioned, and then we like fresh air, but we're also in an extremely humid state in Arkansas. So I definitely agree with the moisture. You can just feel it on you sometimes. So that's super important. Mold, even in the new construction, as you mentioned, Wendy, we've seen some of that already. They're enclosing everything in with the insulation so tightly that it's creating mold, and so I think it's super important to have someone come back and check on that once it's installed.
Very much.
I agree. That is so important. Here in California, what happens a lot of times is people will have seasonal companies come in. So we'll have these companies that just come in the summer and then they're gone by the winter. And then sometimes, you know, like, and I know in Texas, it's like this too, that it's like, you know, cold in the morning and then it's hot in the evening. And then when they go and turn on their AC, it's not working anymore. And these companies are nowhere to be found. So have you guys found that in your part of the states that happens too, where people are just gone, Irum?
Yeah, we're in Dallas, and that happens all the time. You know, we'll have different companies. I mean, traveling as far as from Florida coming down here, and although their sticker price might be half the price of other HVAC companies here in the area, it's because they're not here to service you off season. So they're coming in for the work that's the major HVAC, you know, AC unit replacements during the summertime, but they are not going to stay in or stick in for your seasonal tune-ups, which is normally in the fall or in the spring. And so they hire these crews, they come down, they may be state certified in their own state, but their state has different conditions and qualities and properties which may not really jive with what we have going on over here. So you can have someone travel as far as from New York coming on down to Texas, and they may have their papers there, they may be certified there, but our conditions, our environmental conditions as well, they may not know all of those best practices that we do here. And so if someone goes in and hires one of these companies, right, and then they're unable to track them down, then they normally call other reputable companies to come in and conduct the seasonal tune-up. 9 out of 10 times when we're called to resolve, one of these traveling, HVAC companies, we find fault in something that they've done. Just like Misty mentioned earlier, they may be tightening up that plenum so tight that now they're introducing pockets or voids somewhere else. Or just like Wendy mentioned, there might be humidity there, and maybe they disconnected the thermostat where the humidity alarm is not alerting you to let you know that there's humidity being introduced. So we found that local HVAC companies, the quality of the work that they put out is much more standardized across, rather than these out-of-state, nomads coming in and performing work and then leaving. It's hard to watch a lot of good families and businesses put out so much, money and investment, thinking they're getting a deal, and then later on, just a few months later, their system isn't service. It's actually compromised. And like Misty mentioned before with the maintenance, in order to keep your HVAC system unit running in good standing with the warranties that come with it, you have to do the maintenance with it. You just can't let something sit idle. So we get that a lot. I'm not sure if in California it's that bad, but we do get that a lot here in the North Texas area.
Yes, I have a question for Shayna. We're speaking of maintenance and why it's so important. And I know, because Shayna's been one of my mentors, that it's really important to have checklists for each technician to do the same thing. Shayna, can you tell us a little bit of why it's so important to have a checklist and the things that you do in your company to ensure that everybody's doing what they're supposed to protect your customer?
Yeah, most definitely. Those checklists are not there just to protect the customer. They're also there to protect you as a business owner. And there's so many different things that can go in there that make sure that everybody is safe and things are working properly. And one of the things that we have learned over the years is making sure those checklists are covering every single basis that can affect the homeowner, whether it be a code issue, whether it is just something not working properly, and just making the homeowner aware, making them, as we use the word educated a lot, we're not selling anybody anything, we're educating the homeowner and letting the homeowner make an educated decision on what needs to be done in their home to make sure that their home is safe. But those checklists are there so that you know that every single system is getting checked the same exact way, and whenever you're done, the homeowner can have a copy and you can have a copy, and then everything is there, it's in writing. And so many times, a problem may arise later on. They'll call and say, 2 months after your service, they'll call and say, my air conditioning went out. And you're able to go back to that checklist and say, yes, we told you that XYZ needed to be replaced. It's that time. Let's get that done. And so being able to even go back to those and making and see what needs to be done based off of past performance is vitally important for your business.
That is so good. And I just want to circle back to the reason why I called all of us together was because of these articles. And one of the things that these articles had in common were this certain thing. It was from the CDC. And so I did call the CDC because I wanted answers to why they were putting out this information. And what I got from them, they said that it was an early release study. So it wasn't fact concrete. They're just doing studies right now. And they did advise me that they don't have anything specific for HVAC, that they are concrete learning. So that's why I wanted to get all of us together and an expert like Wendy to tell us, Wendy, what are maybe one or two things, sorry, that you could advise us as business owners that we can really educate our customers moving forward when they see articles like this? And, it's so challenging these times where everything that we read, it's like panic. And so, this is fake news, obviously, but what can we do as business owners to educate our customers moving forward and how we can have proper air quality in our home?
Well, that's a really great question, and it's a very broad question too at the same time, because when dealing with air quality in a space, whether that is a home or whether it is a commercial location, you really have to use really good common sense. If something is becoming airborne and it stays airborne for a long period of time, yes, it can get sucked into the HVAC system, and it can get, throughout the system and potentially contaminate the system. And that is proven time and time again with fungal spores, mold spores, those kinds of things, and other dust and allergens. When it comes to this type of virus, it is transmitted in droplets of moisture in the air. And when you have droplets of moisture, they are heavier than air, so they're going to fall to the ground or fall to a surface where they can be contracted, skin-to-skin contact and all that kind of stuff, through a sneeze or a cough. If you take a look at around your space where the intakes are in your HVAC system, are you actually coughing and sneezing directly into the intake? Or is it across the room on the ceiling that's, 10 feet in the air? Use common sense when it comes to determining if that may be a situation where, your HVAC may be contaminated. And even then, how long has it been proven to stay on surfaces and that sort of thing too? So what I'm trying to say is, can it be contaminated by COVID-19? Yes, potentially. Likely, not so much. When it comes to overall air quality, it's more likely that mold spores have been in the space, or maybe from a different source within the space, like a leak in a sink or a bathroom. There is more likely to have mold spores contaminating your HVAC system than COVID-19. So that's something that we may want to take a look at. It's a reason to do environmental testing to find out what is in your system, and that is something that we can do from Fix Air.
So good, so good. Thank you so much, Wendy. I have peace of mind now, so much better moving forward. Do you ladies have any closing thoughts? Irum?
I do. There's a lot of talk about indoor air quality management using, devices like REME, Halo, which uses like the reflective electromagnetic energy technology, right? That like clusters everything together so it can be caught on a filter. And then you also have like the iWave, the UV light portion of it. And then you also have the air filter, right? Which is what you can go to your neighborhood Home Depot and purchase. So those are all different ways of filtration, but they all have to be installed in a certain way in the right spot. And so, I know there's a lot of articles floating out there as one of these solutions is the best solution. So I just wanted to ask Wendy a very direct question, because I feel like she has some great insight on here. If someone was to purchase, Wendy, this question is for you. If someone was to purchase, a REME type of technology, also an iWave or a UV light technology piece, and they refuse to change out their air filters, what would be the air quality in their home? Does all those different technologies help clear up the air, or is this really a three-part process to keep air clean as much as they can? What are your thoughts around that?
That's a great question, and it's always a very, very multi-step process. You know, when you're treating your air quality, I mean, there's lots of different factors that go into what constitutes good air, bad air, lots of different working parts. So when it comes to filtration, when it comes to system maintenance, cleanliness in your house, keeping the ventilation, the fresh air volume up, the fresh air, I mean, there's lots of different factors. So when my experience with UV lights in your HVAC system, if it's just an individual bulb, the volume of air that's flowing through your system is going to be too fast blowing over that bulb in order for it to break down those pathogens, because it takes a little bit of time for a UV light to break those pathogens down. The better recommendation would be, you know, I think the Remy Halo is one of them that has it. Fresh Air UV is another. There's several others that do, but it's a titanium dioxide carbon coated filter that is on the backside of that UV light, and it looks like a honeycomb. But that filter is specially made for trapping those particulates, trapping those pathogens. So it allows the light, the UV light, a little bit of time to be able to break those things down and kill whatever, you know, germs, virus, bacteria, whatever's there. And those bulbs have a shelf life. They have a lifetime, lifespan. So, you know, double check with your manufacturer, double check with your supplier, because those bulbs are either a year or 2 years, and they have to be changed out every so often, which is a great way to, you know, for the maintenance plans that you guys offer, to be able to check on those and make sure that those are changed out, because just because they're working doesn't mean that they're really being effective.
Thank you so much. So that really debunks that myth of all you have to do is go out and buy it on Amazon or some other, you know, off price market and install it yourself. You really have to have a true professional put it in, because there is specific training that goes with installing it the right way. The worst thing that can happen, just like Wendy just mentioned, is someone installing it, puncturing something, putting it in the wrong way, assuming that they're being protected, not being protected at all. And that just kind of leads to all these different things that happen. When a professional goes in and they install it, whether it's an HVAC or an extra filtration system, we have to register it. And then we also keep up with the installs, as well as anything that may have been recalled, right? Just like Misty mentioned earlier in the way that Shayna went through the checklist. So only a professional can go through and keep track of that. So this is definitely something that you don't want to take on in your own hands. So thanks again, Wendy, for, you know, circling back on that. But that's really what I really wanted to have people hear out, because sometimes there's so many different articles that are floating out there, and you think that you're just one purchase away from safety, and that's really not the case. There's a lot more that goes into it. So, Anna, thank you again so much for bringing us all together and asking us some of these questions that I don't think most people that are outside of the industry or outside of owning a home would even know how deep and how scientific this HVAC and indoor air quality really gets.
There's so many different factors, girls, if you will allow me to, just real quick. There's so many different factors that affect your health and your family's health significantly, and you may not realize it, you know, and if you have environmental conditions that are to the point where they can affect your health, you may be experiencing inflammation, headaches, bowel problems, and, you know, other respiratory issues, as well as, you know, neurological issues and other physiological issues and things like that, you know, their doctors may not know how to diagnose. They may come back with like fibromyalgia or Lyme's disease or ALS or other symptoms might register as to a doctor, or might look like to a doctor as a different type of condition, and it may be related to your environment. So it may be something that you guys want to take a look at seriously, and, you know, is this environmental toxicity causing my health symptoms? You know, and it may not be just the virus that's going around. but really take a look to why you might be experiencing those symptoms in your home, and be open to the idea that it may be that toxicity in your environment. Because just a couple little things that you can do that, having a professional work on your HVAC or testing your air quality might make a huge significant difference in the quality of your health. So I appreciate it, girls.
Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
Wendy. We really, really appreciate you. How can people get a hold of you, Wendy, if they have any questions or if they need your services in Texas?
Sure, absolutely. I'm in Dallas, Texas, North Texas area. We do travel all over the place, but they can call us directly at 469-224-7774, or on our website at iaqrx.com.
We appreciate your time. And ladies, thank you so much. I just did not want people not to turn on their ACs this summer. I know it's going to be a very hot summer, and I appreciate your time. And I love that I can always count on you ladies for